Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette ran into Bert Kreischer and said, "Hey, when did that no shirt thing start?" Bert said, "In all honesty, I used to go on stage, rip my shirt off, kill a beer. That was my go-to Thursday because you had a long weekend ahead of you, and I always want to remind myself, this is a one-show night. This should be fun. You should have a good time. I know you miss your family. I know you want to be home. I know you wish you were making more money. I know you wish there were more people here. But the people in here deserve to have a good time, and you need to remember that this should be fun." So I used to do that, and I would sometimes do it early show Friday, late show Friday. And the one time I did in Columbus, Ohio, and I forgot to put my shirt back on. I used to put my shirt right back on. I forgot in like 10, 15 minutes of my set. I was like, oh, shoot, I should put my shirt on. I went to put it on, and a woman back goes, "Keep it off." And got a big laugh, and I kept it off, and I kept going back as if I was going to put it on, but I never put it on. And a comic I really respect was like, I can't believe you did any material with your shirt off, let alone a whole hour. He was like, no one could do that in a weird way. I thought it'd be great to practice stand-up. And then when I got ready for a special, there was a shirt on and just murder. It would have been like swimming in overalls. But when I got to do the special, I realized I hadn't done stand-up with a shirt on in 9 years. So I was like, shoot, I guess I got to do this shirtless. I've had similar conversations with Larry the Cable Guy about the sleeveless thing and how when it becomes your thing, you're kind of committed. And, sometimes Larry's a little cold. Just going to say that. So then I asked Bert Kreischer, what happened if you listen to Joe Rogan, you lost a bunch of weight and got ripped? Would you still be funny? Bert said, yeah, I think so. I mean, here's the thing. I thought about that a lot. Number one, I'd love to find out. I'd love to get ripped. It'd be so cool. Don't think that I haven't been trying to get ripped for the last 10 years. Like, I'd love to get ripped. I'd love to be in good shape. But I think the people that think you would be funny don't think you're funny right now. I think your fans will go with you no matter where you go. I think fans are ride or die. I don't think they're like, I need Bert to be fat for his stand-up to be funny. I mean, people enjoy my podcast and they don't really see me. Maybe if I was completely shredded, I wouldn't be as relatable, I don't think we're running into that issue anytime soon. I'd love to be shredded, but I can't get there. Part of the thing that makes me approachable is that I like to have beers and hang out after a show. If I was that guy that was ripped, I couldn't hang out with fans. I couldn't have beers. I'd have to go back to my bed and get 10 hours sleep. I'd have to get up early and work out, and I'd be on steroids. I think there are variables in that, but I think ultimately if I lost weight and looked good, I don't think anybody has a problem with looking good. I don't think anybody has a problem with looking at anything that looks good. Polestar asks the question, is this a golden age of comedy? Here's their premise. The top 15 comedy tours combined for more than $267 million gross in 3.46 million tickets sold between September 16, 2021 and September 15th of this year. That's more than $60 million ahead of the 2018-2019 comedy year. We are throwing out the pandemic years as one does. Polestar adds, what's illustrative of this new era is not how much the top 2 or 3 comics are making, but how much guys further down the list are bringing in. This year's number 15 act, Nate Bargatze, grossed $8.8 million. That's 76% more than Jim Jeffries did in the 15 slot in 2018-19. Wow. Then they talked about Nate Bargatze, who still lives in Nashville, and Nate said, when I started, you needed to get to a bigger city. Don't know how much you have to go to New York and LA now. It's completely different than how I started. I don't know if I would have to move now. You can get on stage in Nashville every night. Now the industry knows we have to go there and look. Danny Jolis has an interactive comedy special on YouTube. It's called With You Choose. It's a free comedy special on YouTube. Danny has created a choose-your-own-adventure approach that required him to record entire sets of jokes on both sides of a string of issues and give audience their choice of which side to watch as the show unfolds. He said, scientifically speaking, it was a nightmare to write. It was really hard. I'll never do it again for sure. On a deeper level about stand-up comedy, specials used to be special. Andy Kaufman did the performance where they're going out to ice cream. Specials did special things. I wanted to make something special, good or bad. So he recorded in an LA theater twice in front of a live audience. One taping featured the pro side jokes and then the con side jokes. The second taping reversed the order. The response from audiences upon learning the premise of both sides now was kind of confused. Danny said, it's such a betrayal of trust, of being authentic with you. But then he turns it upside down. He explains at the break, it's fun, but by then they knew what I was doing. You could see it in their face. What I proved with the special is that I could walk on stage and say anything. I'm a good talker. You know who else is a good talker? Politicians and performers. You have to trust actions. Opinions change over time. A fantastic article on the Financial Times. The headline, as debate over cancel culture rages, the New York comedy scene grapples with the line between provocation and offense. The author is at an Aaron Berg show, describes him as white, middle-aged from New Jersey. He's doing crowd work. That guy looks like he for sure owns handguns. How many handguns do you have, sir? And then he points at a blonde woman. I would do stuff to you that's illegal in Afghanistan. I would let you drive a car. I would let you have opinions. Points at a guy with a beard. You can't tell if he's Jewish or ISIS. Aaron Berg shares that he's Jewish too and tells a sex joke about sleeping with Jewish guys, something about using 8 fingers like a menorah. Crowd is laughing. Aaron Berg zeroes in on a couple in the front row. These are real Asian people. Look at this. These are anime characters. Dance Dance Revolution. The author writes, my whole body freezes. I glance at the couple. To my surprise, they're laughing. This guy's so Asian. Patient 0 and Patient 1. Thank you for the vacation. We appreciated the 2 years off. However, now our economy is floundering. Aaron Berg got the biggest laughs of the night. The author leaves wondering if the crowd was somehow duped just because people laughed. Did that make it good? I have illustrated that to my college class. I can get laughs by saying something quite vile, and I like to work clean here, but I will just suddenly shock and say, and so I punched her in the body part, and it always gets a laugh. And then I say, I didn't even tell a joke. I just shocked you. Anyway, the Financial Times says this all begs the question, what do we look to comedy for to begin with? Comedy helps to frame issues we're still making sense of. It points out incongruities. Very few star comics have truly lost their platforms because of what they've said on stage. In fact, the opposite is more common. When comics claim censorship, engagement spikes. Andrew Schultz, whose last special included anti-Asian jokes, promoted his newest special by saying he'd refused a streamer's request to remove edgy jokes about abortion. He released it himself and had been watched on YouTube more than 6.7 million times. Dave Chappelle says his most controversial recent special, The Closer, is now the most watched comedy special on Netflix ever. Ruth Allen is a 24-year-old comic who says making people laugh is so complicated. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. You could be scared, upset, or caught off guard and laugh, and that misdirects comics. I know some comics with very offensive material, when people react audibly, they think it's good, and I think, no, that doesn't mean it's good. It means people are stunned by what you said. Again, see my illustration of my vile thing that's not even a joke. The author writes, she talks me through one of her jokes. She had a city bike accident, she says, and needed 3 stitches to her vagina. Her doctor worried she was using the bike story as a cover and asked her repeatedly if it was a sexual assault. Listen, I know that's a problem where women get assaulted and don't want to talk about it, but I would personally snitch so bad. I'd tell you the name, weight, eye color, and what comedy clubs they work at. That gets a laugh. And Ruth Allen says there's a point to that shock. I like those jokes. Shock for no reason is pointless, but to talk about something that's upsetting and make it funny, that's valuable. All right, so why are Chappelle and Gervais so popular? Ruth Allen says these famous comics are used to people laughing at whatever they say. She says they already have super fans, so they're never challenged by a room. But for her, none of the people give a hoot about who I am. That makes me better. Great article, and more from that article tomorrow. Hey, let's start a drinking game here and see if I can mention Ryan Reynolds on the podcast every day without me Googling Ryan Reynolds. He just comes up in random stories daily. Today's story is from Giant Freaking Robot, your home for comedy news. Ryan Reynolds was asked about showing up in a cameo on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with his new BFF, Rob McElhenney. Ryan said he'd go so far as to play some random drunken man in Patty's pub. However, Rob suggested that Ryan Reynolds could come in as the love interest of Rob's character Mac, who's now openly gay. Giant Freaking Robot says it'd be quite hilarious to have Ryan Reynolds show up in the series as Mac's boyfriend, and the group could largely be stunned that Mac landed a guy like Ryan Reynolds. And from the Press Democrat, the Kings and Queens of Latino Comedy show is finally set to take the stage today at Santa Rosa's Luther Burbank Center for the Arts. Dennis Gaxiola, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, sir. He's the organizer of the event. He said, this is a fun show to highlight the diversity of the Latino community. We're not all from the hood, and we're not all Ivy League. Also on the show, Gilbert Esquivel, Johnny Sanchez, Kat Alvarado, Tanya Estrada, and Juan Carlos. That wasn't the original plan. See, back in July, the Latin Kings of Comedy 20th Anniversary Tour was booked for the Burbank Center. Then Dave Chappelle added some shows on short notice and sold out the same venue 5 times over 3 nights just a few days before the Latin Kings date. Gaxiola figured there might not be much comedy audience left over by the time some 7,000 comedy fans had seen Chappelle. There was no way we were going to compete with Dave Chappelle, so he had a punt and that cost them Paul Rodriguez. He had a schedule conflict. He's working on a movie. So Gaxiola said, now I'm producing the show without a big-name headliner. This is my new adventure this year, producing shows and performing in them. I'm hoping to plan some new ones. He adds there's no shortage of Latino comedy talent. There's more than just Paul Rodriguez, George Lopez, and Gabriel Iglesias. There are different facets of Latino culture in America, and this show will represent that. It's a wide-ranging group with most of the comedians leaning towards clean comedy and trying to make it fun for everybody. The kings and queens of Latino comedy. Tonight sounds like a fun show. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can do that too. See you tomorrow.